Good evening and welcome to part two of King John. We are Solon Bliss, and I'm so excited to do the second part of this great play with these amazing performers that we have here with us tonight. So just before we start, this is part two. So if you haven't seen part one, just click over there or over there, and you can watch part one before you see part two of King John. What I'd like to do first is introduce our cast, and I'll say their names and the parts that they're playing. My name is Richard, and I'm playing King John.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I am the Dauphin in Malone.
Hey, I'm Luann. I'm playing Hubert.
I'm Paul, and I'm playing Pandolf.
Hi, I'm Glenn Thomas Cruz, and I am Philip, the bastard Falconbridge.
Hey, I'm Anna. I'm playing Lord Bigot, and then later I will be your messenger.
Hi, I'm Alana, and I'll be playing Salisbury.
Burke, and I am Executioner and Messengers.
Hi, I'm Jordann, and I'm playing the Earl of Pembroke.
Hi, I'm Hayden, and I'm playing Arthur.
Great, so that's our cast. I think we have all the parts sorted. Anna, you're playing Henry. Henry III, I think. Well, someone will read Henry III when we get to that point. No, I'm just kidding. So, second half of King John. Hubert first threatens to blind the young Prince Arthur and then to take his life, but relents. And when the boy pleads for mercy, Hubert decides to hide him instead. And this sets off King John, who consults with his courtiers, who ask for Arthur's freedom, knowing that Hubert was ordered to kill him. And a messenger brings news from France that Eleanor and Constance have both died. Louis, the Dauphin, is threatening to invade England, and the bastard arrives to tell of his success in raising support and bringing a prisoner whom John immediately imprisons in Hubert's care. Hubert then tells John that Arthur is dead. Perhaps he does, perhaps he doesn't. I don't know. Maybe that's a spoiler alert, maybe not. Much to the dismay and anger of his nobles, many of whom go to join the Dauphin in his siege. When John becomes angry at Hubert, he denies that he has carried out the murder. Or maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Meanwhile, Arthur does something about something. The nobles then do something, and they find something, and that ends the fourth act. As the French forces move towards London, strengthened by the defected lords, John yields to the church's supremacy in return for protection. Pandolf speaks with Louis on John's behalf, but Louis won't be swayed. And the bastard leading the king's forces also sues for peace with the rebels, but battle rages regardless, and John, struck with illness, seeks refuge at an abbey in the midst of a battle. A dying French Lord Maloon tells the defecting English lords that they have joined the wrong side. And he warns them to return the English armies because the Dauphin plans to kill them if the French win. Hubert seeks out the bastard with news that King John has been poisoned. The noble brings John's son Henry III to the abbey to witness John's death, and the bastard has lost much of his army, but the opposing side finally takes Pandolf's advice and stops their attack. Prince Henry, now king, orders the burial of his father, while the bastard proclaims peace throughout England. So sit back, relax, and enjoy King John, the second part.
Heat me these irons hot, and look thou stand within the arras. When I strike my foot upon the bosom of the ground, rush forth and bind the boy, which you will find with me fast to the chair. Be heedful, hence and watch.
I hope your warrant will bear out the deed.
Uncleanly scruples fear not you. Look to it. Young lad, come forth, I have to say with you.
Good morrow, Hubert.
Good morrow, little prince.
As little prince having so great a title, to be more prince as may be. You are sad.
Indeed, I have been merrier.
Mercy on me, methinks nobody should be sad but I. Yet I remember when I was in France, young gentlemen would be as sad as night, only for wantonness, but by my Christendom, so I were out of prison and kept sheep, I should be as merry as the day is long. And so I would be here, but that I doubt, my uncles practice more harm to me. He is afraid of me and I of him. Is it my fault that I were Geoffrey's son? No, indeed it isn't not. And I would to heaven I were your son, so you would love me, Hubert.
If I talk to him with his innocent prate, he will awake my mercy which lies dead. Therefore, I will be sudden and dispatch.
Are you sick, Hubert? You look pale today. In sooth, I would you were a little sick, that I might sit all night and watch with you. I warrant I love you more than you do me.
His words take possession of my bosom. Read here, young Arthur. How now, foolish room, turning suspicious nature out of door. I must be brief, lest resolution drop out of mine eyes in tender womanish tears. Can you not read it? Is it not fair writ?
Too fairly, Hubert, for a foul effect must you with hot irons blime out both my eyes.
Young boy, I must.
And will you?
And I will. I have sworn to do it, and with hot irons must I burn them out.
Ah, none but in this iron age would do it. The iron of itself thought heat red, approaching near thine eyes, would drink my tears and quench this fiery indignation, even in the matters of mine innocence, nay, after the consuming away in rust, but for containing fire to harm mine eyes. Are you stubborn hard than hammer iron? And if angels should have come to me and told me Hubert should put out mine eyes, I would not believe them. No tongue but Hubert.
Come forth. Do as I bid you do.
Oh, save me, Hubert, save me. My eyes are out, even with fierce looks of these bloody men.
Give me the iron, I say. Bind him here.
Alas, what need you be bosom rough? And I will not struggle. I will stand stone still, for heaven's sake, Hubert. Let me not be bound. Nay, hear me, Hubert. Drive these men away, and I will sit as quiet as lamb. And I will not stir. I will not wince. I will not speak a word, nor look upon the iron angrily. Thrust but these men away, and I'll give you whatever torment you do put me to.
Go, stand within. Let me be alone with him.
I am best pleased to be from such a deed.
Alas, I then have child away my friend. He hath a stern look, but a gentle heart. Let him come back, and this compassion may give you life to yours.
Come, boy, prepare yourself.
Is there no remedy?
None, but to lose your eyes.
O heaven, that there were but a moth in your grain, a dust, a gnat, a wandering hair, any annoyance in this precious sense, that then feeling with small things are boisterous there, your vile intent must needs seem horrible.
Is this your promise? Go to, hold your tongue.
Hubert, the utterance of a braced tongue must need want pleading for a prayer of eyes. Let me not hold my tongue. Let me not, Hubert. Or Hubert, if you will cut out my tongue, so I may keep mine eyes. Oh, spare my eyes. Do not to use, but still to look on you. Lo, but my truth instrument is cold, and would not harm me.
I can heat it, boy.
No, in good sooth, the fire is dead with grief, being created for comfort, but to be used in undeserving extremes. See else yourself, the breath of heaven hath blown his spirit out, and stewed rep into ashes on his head.
But with my breath, I can revive it, boy.
And if you do, you will make it blush and glow with shame of your proceedings, Hubert. Nay, it purchased with a sparkle in your eye, and like a dog that compelled to fight, snatch at his master that doth tear him on. All things that you should use to do me wrong, deny their offers, only do you lack the mercy that which fierce fire and iron extends creatures of note for mercy, lacking use.
Well, see to live. I will not touch thine eye for all the treasure that thine uncle owes, yet I am sworn, and I did purpose, boy, with this same very iron to burn them out.
Oh, now you look like Hubert. All this while you were disguised.
Peace, no more, adieu. Your uncle must not know, but you are dead. I'll fill these dogged spies with false reports, and pretty child sleep doubtless and secure that Hubert, for the wealth of all the world, will not offend thee.
Oh heaven, I thank you, Hubert.
Silence no more. Go closely in with me. Much danger do I undergo for thee.
Here, once again we sit, once again crowned and looked upon, I hope, with cheerful eyes.
This once again, but that your highness pleased, was once superfluous. You were crowned before, and that high royalty was near plucked off. The faiths of men near stained with revolt. Fresh expectation troubled not the land with any longed for change or better state.
Therefore, to be possessed with double pomp, to guard a title that was rich before, to gild refined gold, to paint the lily, to throw a perfume on the violet, to smooth the ice, or add another hue unto the rainbow, or with taper light to seek the beauteous eye of heaven to garnish, is wasteful and ridiculous excess.
But that your royal pleasure must be done, this act is as an ancient tale new told, and in the last repeating, troublesome, being urged at a time unseasonable.
In this the antic and well-noted face of plain old form is much disfigured, and like a shifted wind unto a sail, it makes the course of thoughts to fetch about, startles and frights consideration, makes sound opinions sick, and truth suspected for putting on so new a fashioned robe.
When workmen strive to do better than well, they do confound their skill in covetousness, and oftentimes excusing of a fault doth make the fault the worse by the excuse, as patches set upon a little breach discredit more in the hiding of the fault than did the fault before it was so patched.
To this effect, before you were new crowned, we breathed our counsel, but it pleased your highness to overbear it. And we are all well pleased, since all and every part of what we would doth make a stand at what your highness will.
Some reasons of this double coronation I have possessed you with, and think them strong. And more strong than lesser is my fear I shall endue you with. Meantime, but ask what you would have reformed that is not well, and well shall you perceive how willingly I will both hear and grant you your requests.
Then I, as one that am the tongue of these to sound the purposes of all their hearts, both for myself and them, but chief of all your safety, for the which myself and them bend their best studies, heartily request the enfranchisement of Arthur, whose restraint doth move the murmuring lips of discontent to break into this dangerous argument. If what in rest you have, in right you hold, Why then your fears, which, as they say, attend the steps of wrong, should move you to mew up your tender kinsman, and to choke his days with barbarous ignorance, and deny his youth the rich advantage of good exercise, that the time's enemies may not have this to grace occasions. Let it be our suit that you have bid us ask his liberty, which for our goods we do not further ask, then whereupon our weal on you depending counts it your weal. He have his liberty.
Let it be so. I do commit his youth to your direction. Hubert, what news with you?
This is the man should do the bloody deed. He shewed his warrant to a friend of mine. The image of a wicked, heinous fault lives in his eye. That close aspect of his do shew the mood of a much troubled breast, and I do fearfully believe 'tis done what we so feared he had a charge to do.
The color of the king doth come and go between his purpose and his conscience, like heralds twixt two dreadful battles set. His passion is so ripe it needs must break.
And when it breaks, I fear will issue thence the foul corruption of a sweet child's death.
We cannot hold mortality's strong hand. Good lords, although my will to give is living, the suit which you demand is gone and dead. It tells us Arthur is deceased tonight.
Indeed, we feared his sickness was past cure.
Indeed, we heard how near his death he was before the child himself felt he was sick. This must be answered either here or hence.
Why do you bend such solemn brows on me? Think you I bear the shears of destiny? Have I commandment on the pulse of life?
It is apparent foul play, and 'tis shame that greatness should so grossly offer it. So thrive it in your game, and so farewell.
Stay yet, Lord Salisbury. I'll go with thee and find the inheritance of this poor child, his little kingdom of a forced grave. That blood which owed the breadth of all this isle, 3 foot of it doth hold. Bad world the while. This must not be thus born. This will break out to all our sorrows, and ere long, I doubt.
They burn in indignation. I repent. There is no sure foundation set on blood, no certain life achieved by others' death. A fearful eye thou hast. Where is that blood that I have seen inhabit in those cheeks? So foul a sky clears not without a storm. Pour down thy weather. How goes all in France?
From France to England, never such a power for any foreign preparation was levied in the body of a land. The copy of your speed is learned by them. For when you should be told they do prepare, the tidings come that they are all arrived.
Oh, where hath our intelligence been drunk? Where hath it slept? Where is my mother's care that such an army could be drawn in France and she not hear of it?
My liege, her ear, it stopped with dust. The 1st of April died. Your noble mother, as I hear, my lord, the Lady Constance, in a frenzy, died 3 days before. But this from rumor's tongue I idly heard. If true or false, I know not.
Hope thy speed's dreadful occasion. Oh, make a league with me till I have pleased my discontented peers. What? Mother dead? How wildly then walks my estate in France? Under whose conduct came those powers of France that thou, for truth, givest out that landed here?
Under the Dauphin.
It's made me giddy with these ill tidings. Now? What says the world to your proceedings? Do not seek to stuff my head with more ill news, for it is full.
But if you be afeard to hear the worst, then let the worst unheard fall on your head.
Bear with me, cousin, for I was amazed under the tide. But now I breathe again, aloft the flood, and can give audience to any tongue. Speak of it, what it will.
How I have sped among the clergymen, the sums I have collected shall express. But as I traveled hither through the land, I find the people strangely fantasize, possessed with rumors, full of idle dreams, not knowing what they fear, but full of fear. And here's a prophet that I brought with me from forth the streets of Pomfret, whom I found with many hundreds treading on his heels, to whom he sung in rude, harsh sounding rhymes that ere the next Ascension Day at noon, your highness should deliver up your crown.
Idle dreamer, wherefore didst thou so?
For knowing that the truth will fall out so.
Hubert, away with him, imprison him, and on that day at noon, whereon he says, I shall yield up my crown, let him be hanged. Deliver him to safety and return, for I must use thee. Oh, my gentle cousin, hear'st thou the news abroad? Who are arrived?
The French, my lord, men's mouths are full of it. Besides, I met Lord Bigot and Lord Salisbury with eyes as red as new enkindled fire, and others more, going to seek the grave of Arthur, whom they say is killed tonight on your suggestion.
Gentle kinsman, go and thrust thyself into their companies. I have a way to win their loves again. Bring them before me.
I will seek them out.
But make haste, the better foot before. Oh, let me have no subject enemies when adverse foreigners affright my towns with dreadful pomp of stout invasion. Be Mercury, set feathers to thy heels and fly like thought from them to me again.
The spirit of the time shall teach me speed.
Spoke like a spriteful noble gentleman. Go after him, for he perhaps shall need some messenger betwixt me and the peers, and be thou thee.
With all my heart, my liege.
My mother, dead.
My lord, they say 5 moons were seen tonight. 4 fixed, and the 5th did whirl about with the other 4 in wondrous motion.
5 moons?
Old men and bedlams in the streets do prophesy upon it dangerously. Young Arthur's death is common in their mouths. When they talk of him, they shake their heads and whisper one another in the ear. And he that speaks doth grip the hearer's wrist, while he that hears makes fearful action with wrinkled brows, with nods, with rolling eyes. I saw a smith stand with his hammer thus, the whilst his iron did on the anvil cool, with open mouth swallowing a tailor's news, who with his shears and measure in his hand, standing on slippers which his nimble haste had falsely thrust upon contrary feet, told of a many thousand warlike French that were embattled and ranked in Kent. Another, lean, unwashed artificer, cut off his tail, and talks of Arthur's death.
Why seekest thou to possess me with these fears? Why urgest thou so oft young Arthur's death? Thy hand hath murdered him. I had a mighty cause to wish him dead, but thou hadst none to kill him.
No, had my lord. Why did you not provoke me?
The curse of kings to be attended by slaves that take their humors for a warrant, to break within the bloody house of life, and on the winking of authority to understand the law, to know the meaning of dangerous majesty when perchance it frowns more upon the humor than advised respect.
Here is your hand and seal for what I did.
Oh, when the last accompt twixt heaven and earth is to be made, then shall this hand and seal witness us against a damnation. How oft the sight of means to do ill deeds make ill deeds done. Hast thou not thou been by, a fellow by the hand of nature marked, quoted signed to do a deed of shame. This murder had not come into my mind. But taking note of thy abhorred aspect, finding me fit for bloody villain, apt, liable to be employed in danger, I faintly broke with thee, Arthur's death, and thou to be entered to a king. Made it no conscience to destroy a prince.
My lord.
Thou but shook thy head, or made a pause, when I spake darkly what I purposed, or turned an eye of doubt upon my face, as bid me tell my tale in express words. Deep shame had struck me dumb, made me break off, and those thy fears which have wrought fears in me. But thou didst understand me by my signs, and didst in signs against parley with sin, yea, without stop, didst let thy heart consent, and consequently thy rude hand to act the deed which both our tongues held vile to name. Out of my sight, and never see me more. My nobles leave me, and my state is braved, even at my gates with ranks of foreign powers, nay, in the body of this fleshly land, this kingdom, this confine of blood and breath. Hostility and civil tumult reigns between my conscience and my cousin's death.
Arm you against your other enemies. I'll make a peace between your soul and you. Young Arthur is alive. This hand of mine is yet a maiden and an innocent hand, not painted with the crimson spots of blood within this bosom, never entered yet the dreadful motion of a murderous thought. And you have slandered nature in my form, which so however rude exteriorly, is yet the cover of a fairer mind than to be a butcher of an innocent child.
Live? Oh, hast thou thee to the peers? Throw this report on their incessant rage and make them tame to their obedience. Forgive the comment that my passion made upon thy feature, for my rage was blind, and foul imagery, eyes of blood presented thee more hideous than thou art. Oh, answer not. But to my closet bring the angry lords. With all expedient hast I conjure thee, but slowly. Run more fast.
The wall is high, and yet I will leap down. Good ground, be pitiful and hurt me not. There's a few or none do know me. If they did, the ship boy's semblance hath disguised me quite. I'm afraid, and yet I'll venture it. If I get down and do not break my limbs, I'll find 1,000 shifts to get away. As good to die and go, as die and stay. Oh me, my uncle's spirit in these stones. Heaven take my soul, and England keep my bones.
Lords, I will meet him at St. Edmundsbury. It is our safety, and we must embrace this gentle offer of the perilous time.
Who brought that letter from the cardinal?
The Count Maloon, a noble lord of France, whose private with me of the Dauphin's love is much more general than those lines import.
Tomorrow morning, let us meet him then.
Or rather set forward, for 'twill be 2 long days' journey, lords, or ere we meet.
Once more today well met, distempered lords. The king by me requests your presence straight.
The king hath dispossessed himself of us. We will not line his thin bestained cloak with our pure honors, nor attend the foot that leaves the print of blood where'er it walks. Return and tell him so. We know the worst.
Whate'er you think, good words I think were best.
Our griefs and not our manners reason now.
But there is little reason in your grief. Therefore, 'twere reason you had manners now.
Sir, impatience hath his privilege.
'Tis true. To hurt his master, no man's else.
This is the prison. What is he lies here?
Oh, death, made proud with pure and princely beauty, the earth had not a hole to hide this deed.
Murder, as hating what himself hath done, doth lay it open to urge on revenge.
One who doomed this beauty to a grave found it too precious, princely, for a grave.
Sir Richard, what think you? You have beheld, or have you read, or heard, or could you think? Or do you almost think, although you see, that you do see? Could thought without this object form such another? This is the very top, the height, the crest unto the crest of murder's arms. This is the bloodiest shame, the wildest savagery, the vilest stroke that ever wall-eyed wrath or staring rage presented to the tears of soft remorse.
All murders past do stand excused in this, and this so sole and so unmatchable shall give a holiness, a purity to the yet unbegotten sin of times, and prove a deadly bloodshed but a jest, exampled by this heinous spectacle.
It is a damned and bloody work, the graceless action of a heavy hand, if that it be the work of any hand.
If that it be the work of any hand? We had a kind of light what would ensue. It is the shameful work of Hubert's hand, the practice and the purpose of the king, from whose obedience I forbid my soul, kneeling before this ruin of sweet life and breathing to his breathless excellence the incense of a vow, a holy vow, never to taste the pleasures of the world, never to be infected with delight, nor conversant with ease and idleness, till I have set a glory to this hand by giving it the worship of revenge.
Our souls religiously confirm thy words.
Lord, I am hot with haste in seeking you. Arthur doth live, the king hath sent for you.
Oh, he is bold and blushes not at death. Avaunt, thou hateful villain, get thee gone.
I am no villain.
Must I rob the law?
Your sword is bright, sir. Put it up again.
Not till I sheath it in a murderer's skin.
Stand back, Lord Salisbury, stand back, I say. By heaven, I think my sword's as sharp as yours. I would not have you, Lord, forget yourself, nor tempt the danger of my true defense, lest I, by marking of your rage, forget your worth, your greatness, and nobility.
Out, dunghill, darest thou brave a nobleman?
Not for my life, but yet I dare defend my innocent life against an emperor.
Thou art a murderer.
Do not prove me so. Yet I am none. Whose tongue soe'er speaks false, no truly speaks. Who speaks not truly lies.
Cut him to pieces.
Keep the peace, I say.
Stand by, or I shall gall you, Falconbridge.
Thou wert better gall the devil, Salisbury, if thou but frown on me, or stir thy foot, or teach thy haste spleen to do me shame, I'll strike thee dead. Put up thy sword betime, or I'll so maul you and your toasting iron that you shall think the devil is come from hell.
What wilt thou do, renowned Falconbridge? Second a villain and a murderer?
Lord Bigot, I am none.
Who killed this prince?
'Tis not an hour since I left him well. I honored him, I loved him, and will weep my date of life out for his sweet lives lost.
Trust not those cunning waters of his eyes, for villainy is not without such room, and he, long traded in it, makes it seem like rivers of remorse and innocence. Away with me, all you whose souls abhor the uncleanly savors of a slaughterhouse, for I am stifled with this smell of sin.
Away, Fort Bree to the Dolphin there.
There tell the king, he may inquire us out.
Here's a good world. Knew you of this fair work? Beyond the infinite and boundless reach of mercy, if thou didst this deed of death, art thou damned, Hubert?
Do but hear me, sir.
Ha! I'll tell thee what. Thou'rt damned as black, nay, nothing is so black. Thou art more deep damned than Prince Lucifer. There is not yet so ugly a fiend of hell as thou shalt be, if thou didst kill this child.
Upon my soul.
If thou but consent to this most cruel act, do but despair, and if thou wants a cord, the smallest thread that ever spider twisted from her womb will serve to strangle thee. A rush will be a beam to hang thee on. Or, wouldst thou drown thyself, put but a little water in a spoon, and it shall be as all the ocean, enough to stifle such a villain up. I do suspect thee very grievously.
If I in act, consent, or sin of thought be guilty of the stealing that sweet breath which was embounded in this beauteous clay, let hell want pains enough to torture me. I left him well.
Go, bear him in thine arms. I am amazed, methinks, and lose my way among the thorns and dangers of this world. How easy dost thou take all England up from forth this morsel of dead royalty? The life, the right, and truth of all this realm is fled to heaven. And England now is left to tug and scramble, and to part by the teeth the unowed interests of proud, swelling state. Now, for the bare picked bone of majesty, doth dogged war bristle his angry crest, and snarleth in the gentle eye of peace. Now, powers from home and discontents at home meet in one line, and vast confusion waits, as doth a raven on a sick fallen beast, the imminent decay of rested pomp. Now, happy he whose cloak and center can hold out this tempest. Bear away that child, and follow me with speed. I'll to the king. 1,000 businesses are brief in hand, and heaven itself doth frown upon the land.
Thus have I yielded up into your hand the circle of my glory.
Take again from this my hand, as holding of the Pope your sovereign greatness and authority.
Now keep your holy word. Go meet the French. And from his holiness, use all your power to stop their marches, for we are inflamed. Our discontented counties do revolt. Our people quarrel with obedience, swearing allegiance and the love of soul to stranger blood, to foreign royalty. This inundation of mistempered humor rests by you only to be qualified. Then pause not, for the present time so sick that present medicine must be ministered, or overthrow incurable ensues.
It was my breath that blew this tempest up upon your stubborn usage of the Pope. But since you are a gentle convertite, my tongue shall hush again this storm of war, and make fair weather in your blustering land. On this Ascension Day, remember well upon your oath of service to the Pope. Go I to make the French lay down their arms.
Is this Ascension Day? Did not the prophet say that before Ascension Day at noon, my crown I should give off? Even so I have. I did suppose it should be on constraint, but heaven be thanked, it is but voluntary.
All Kent had yielded. Nothing there holds out but Dover Castle. London hath received like a kind host the Dauphin and his powers. Your nobles will not hear you, but are gone to offer service to your enemy, and wild amazement hurries up and down the little number of your doubtful friends.
Lords returned to me again after they heard young Arthur was alive.
They found him dead and cast into the streets an empty casket where the jewel of life by some damned hand was robbed and ta'en away.
The villain Hubert told me he did live.
So on my soul he did, for aught he knew. But wherefore do you drope? Why look you sad? No, be great in act as you have been in thought. Let not the world see fear and sad distrust govern the motion with a kingly eye. Be stirring as the time, be fire with fire, threaten the threatener, and outface the brow of bragging horror. So shall inferior eyes that burrow their behaviors from the great grow great by your example, and put on the dauntless spirit of resolution. Away and glister the god of war when he intendeth to become the field. Show boldness and an inspiring confidence. What? Shall they seek the lion in his den and fright him there? And make him tremble there? Oh, let it not be said. Forage and run to meet displeasure further from the doors, and grapple with him ere he comes so nigh.
The legate of the Pope hath been with me, and I have made a happy peace with him, and he hath promised to dismiss the powers led by the Dauphin.
Oh, inglorious league! Shall we, upon the footing of our land, send fair play orders and make compromise, insinuation, parley, and base truth to armed invasive? Shall a beardless boy, a cockred silken wanton brave our fields and flesh, his spirit in a warlike soil, mocking the air with colors idly spread and find no checks? Let us, my liege, to arms. Perchance the cardinal cannot make your peace, or if he do, let it least be said they saw we had a purpose of defense.
Have thou the ordering of this present time?
Away then with good courage. Yet I know our party will be met with a prouder foe.
My Lord Milon, let this be copied out and keep it safe for our remembrance. Return the president to those lords again, that having our fair order written down, both they and we, pursuing over these notes, may know wherefore we took the sacrament, and keep our faiths firm and invaluable.
Upon our sides it never shall be broken. And noble Dauphin, albeit we swear a voluntary zeal and an unurged faith to your proceedings, yet believe me, Prince, I am not glad that such a sore of time should seek a plaster by contemned revolt, and heal the inveterate canker of one wound by making many. Oh, it grieves my soul that I must draw this metal from my side to be a widow maker. Oh, and there where honorable rescue and defense cries out upon the name of Salisbury. But such is the infection of the time, that for the health and physic of our right, we cannot deal but with the very hand of stern injustice and confused wrong. And is it not pity, oh my grieved friends, that we, the sons and children of this isle, was born to see so sad an hour as this, wherein we step after a stranger, march upon her gentle bosom, and fill up her enemies' ranks? I must withdraw and weep upon the spot of this enforced cause, to grace the gentry of a land remote, and follow unacquainted colors here. What here? O nation that thou couldst remove, that Neptune's arms, who clippeth thee about, would bear thee from the knowledge of thyself, and cripple thee unto a pagan shore, where these two Christian armies might combine the blood of malice in a vein of league, and not to spend it so unneighborly.
What noble temper dost thou show in this, and great affections wrastling in thy bosom doth make an earthquake of nobility. Oh, what a noble combat hast fought between compulsion and a brave respect. Let me wipe off this honorable dew that silvery doth progress on thy cheeks. My heart hath melted a lady's tears, being an ordinary indignation, but this effusion of such manly drops, this shower blown up by tempest of the soul, startles mine eyes and makes me more amazed than had I seen the vaulty top of heaven figured quite o'er with burning meteors. Lift up thy brow, renowned Salisbury, and with a great heart heave away this storm. Command these waters to those baby eyes that never saw the giant world enraged, nor met with fortune other than a feast's, full warm of blood, of mirth, of gossiping. Come, come, for thou shalt thrust thy hand as deep into the purse of rich prosperity as Lewis himself. So, nobles, shall you all, that knit your sinews to the strength of mine. And even there, methinks an angel spak. Look where the holy legate comes apace to give us warrant from the hand of heaven, and on our actions set the name of right with holy breath.
Hail, noble prince of France. The next is this. King John hath reconciled himself to Rome. His spirit is come in, that so stood out against the holy church, the great metropolis and see of Rome. Therefore thy threatening colors now wind up, and tame the savage spirit of wild war, that like a lion fostered up at hand, it might lie gently at the foot of peace, and be no further shameful than in show.
Your grace shall pardon me. I will not back. I am too high born to be propertied, to be secondary at control, or useful serving man and instrument to any sovereign state without the world. Your breath first kindled the dead coal of wars between this chastised kingdom and myself, and brought in matter that should feed this fire. And now 'tis far too huge to be blown out with that same weak wind which enkindled it. You taught me how to know the face of right, acquainted me with interest of this land. Yeah, thrust this enterprise into my heart, and come ye now to tell me John hath made his peace with Rome? What is that peace to me? I, by the honor of my marriage bed, after young Arthur claimed this land for mine, and now it is half conquered, must I back because that John hath made his peace with Rome? Am I Rome's slave? What penny hath Rome borne? What men provided? What munition sent to underprop this action, that undergo this charge? Is it not I that undergo this charge? Who else but I, and such as to my claim are liable, sweat in this business and maintain this war? Have I not heard these islanders shout, Vive le Roi, as I have banked their towns? Have I not here the best cards for the game to win this easy match played for a crown? And shall I now give o'er to the yielded set? No. No. On my soul, it never shall be said.
You look but on the outside of this work.
Outside or inside, I will not return till my attempt so much be glorified as to my ample hope was promised. Before I drew this gallant head of war and culled these fiery spirits from the world to outlook conquest and to win renown even in the jaws of danger and death. What lusty trumpet thus doth summon us?
According to the fair play of the world, let me have audience. I am here to speak. My holy lord of Milan, from the king I come to learn of how you have dealt for him. And as you answer, I do know the scope and warrant limited unto my tongue.
The
The dolphin is too willful opposite, and will not temporize with my entreaties. He flatly says he'll not lay down his arms.
By all the blood that ever fury breathed, the youth says well. Now, hear our English king, for thus his royalty doth speak in me. He is prepared and reason too he should this apish and unmannerly approach, this harnessed mask and unadvised revel, this unheard sauciness and boyish troops, the king doth smile at, and is well prepared to whip this dwarfish war, this pygmy armies from out the circle of his territories. The hand which had the strength even at your door to cudgel you and make you take the hatch to dive like buckets in concealed wells, to crouch in litter, locked up in chests and trunks, to hug with swine, to seek sweet safety out in vaults and prisons, and to thrill and shake even at the crying of your nation's crow, thinking this voice an armed English man. Shall the victorious hand be feebled here, that in your chambers gave you chastisement? No. No, the gallant monarch is in arms, and like an eagle o'er his airy towers to saucy annoyance that comes near his nest. And you, degenerate, you ingrate revolts, you bloody Neros, ripping up the wound of dear Mother England, blush for shame, for your own. Renowned ladies, your pale visaged maids like Amazons come tripping after drums, their thimbles into armed gauntlets change, their needles to lances and their gentle hearts to fierce and bloody inclination.
There end thy brave, and turn thy face in peace. We grant thou canst outscold us. Fare thee well. We hold our time too precious to be spent with such a brabbler.
Give me leave to speak.
No, I will speak.
We will attend to neither. Strike up the drums and let the tongue of war plead for our interests and our being there.
Indeed, your drums being beaten will cry out, and so shall you, being beaten. Do but start an echo with the clamor of thy drum, and even at hand a drum is ready braced that shall reverberate all as loud as thine. Sound but another, and another shall as loud as thine, rattle the welkin ear and mock the deep mouthed thunder, for at hand, not trusting to this halting legate here, whom he hath us rather for sport than need, is warlike John. And in his forehead sits a bare-ribbed death, whose office is this day to feast upon whole thousands of the French.
Strike up our drums to find this danger out.
And thou shalt find it, Dauphin, do not doubt.
How goes the day with us? Oh, tell me, Hubert.
Badly, I fear. How fares your majesty?
Oh, this fever has troubled me so long, it was heavy on me. Oh, heart is sick.
My lord, your valiant kinsman Falconbridge desires your majesty to leave the field and set him word with me which way you go.
Tell him towards Swinstead. Have you?
Be good comfort, for the great supply that was expected of by the Dauphin here are racked 3 nights ago on Goodwin Sands. This news was brought by Richard, but even now the French fight coldly and retire themselves.
Me, this tyrant fever burns me up and will not let me welcome this good news. Set on towards Swinstead. To my letter straight, weakness possesseth me. I faint.
I did not think the king so stored with friends.
Up once again. Put spirit in the French. If they miscarry, we miscarry too.
That misgotten devil Falconbridge, in spite of spite alone upholds the day.
They say King John sore sick hath left the field.
Lead me to the revolt of England here.
When we were happy, we had other names.
It is the Count Melun.
Wounded to death.
Fly, noble English. You are bought and sold. Unthread the rude eye of rebellion, and welcome home again the discarded faith. Seek out King John, and fall before his feet, for if the French be lords of this loud day, he means to recompense the pains you take by cutting off your heads. Thus hath he sworn, and I with him, and many more with me, upon the altar of St. Edmundsbury, even on that altar where we swore to you dear amity and everlasting love.
May this be possible? May this be true?
Have I not hideous death within my view, retaining but a quantity of life, which bleeds away even as a form of wax resolveth from his figure against the fire? What in the world should make me now deceive, since I must lose the use of all deceit? Why should I then be false, since it is true that I must die here and live hence by truth? I say again, if Lewis do win the day, he is forsworn. If ere those eyes of yours behold another day break in the east. But even as night, whose black contagious breath already smokes about the burning crest of the old, feeble and day-wearied sun, even this ill night your breathing shall expire, paying the fine of rated treachery, even with a treacherous fine of all your lives. If Lewis be your assistance win the day, commend me to one Hubert. With your king, the love of him is the respect besides, for that my grandsire was an Englishman. Awakes my conscience to confess all this, in lieu whereof I pray you, bear me hence from forth the noise and rumour of the field, where I may think the remnant of my thoughts in peace, and depart this body and my soul with contemplation and devout desires.
We do believe thee, and beshrew my soul, but I do love the favour and the form of this most fair occasion, by the which we will untread the steps of damned flight, and like a baited and retired flood, leaving our rankness and irregular course, stoop low within those bounds we've o'erlooked, and calmly run on in obedience, even to our ocean, to our great King John. My army shall give thee help to bear thee hence, for I do see the cruel pangs of death right in thine eye. Away, my friends, new flight, and happy newness that intends old night.
The sun of heaven methought was loth to set, but stayed and made the western welkin blush. When English measures backward their own ground and faint retire, oh, bravely came we off, when with all a volley of our needless shot, after such bloody toil, we bid good night, and wound our totting colours clearly up, last in the field and almost lords of it.
Where is my prince, the Dauphin?
Here, what news?
The Count Maloon is slain. The English lords by his personage are again fallen off, and your supply, which you have wished so long, are cast away and sunk on Goodwin sands.
Ah, foul, shrewd news. Beshrew thy very heart. I did not think to be so sad tonight as this has made me. Who was he that said King John did flee an hour or two before the stumbling night did part our weary powers?
Whoever spoke it, it is true, my lord.
Well, keep good quarter and good care tonight. The day shall not be up so soon as I, to try the fair adventure of tomorrow.
Who's there? Speak, Hoa, speak quickly, or I shoot.
A friend, what art thou?
Of the part of England.
Whither dost thou go?
What's that to thee? Why may not I demand of thine affairs as well as thou of mine?
Hubert, I think.
Thou hast a perfect thought. I will upon all hazards well believe thou art my friend, that thou know'st my tongue so well. Who art thou?
Who thou wilt. And if thou please, thou mayst befriend me so much as to think I come one way of the Plantagenets.
Unkind remembrance. Thou and endless night have done me shame. Brave soldier, pardon me that any accent breaking from thy tongue should scape the true acquaintance of mine ear.
Come, sans compliment, what news abroad?
Why, here walk I in the black brow of night to find you out.
Brief then, and what's the news?
Oh, my sweet sir, news fitting to the night. Black, fearful, comfortless, and horrible.
Show me the very wound of this ill news. I am no woman, I'll not swoon at it.
The king, I fear, is poisoned by a monk. I left him almost speechless and broke out to acquaint you with this evil, that you might the better arm you to the sudden time than if you had at leisure known of this.
How did he take it? Who did taste to him?
A monk, I tell you, a resolved villain whose bowels suddenly bursts out. The king yet speaks and peradventure may recover.
Who didst thou leave to tend his majesty?
Why know you not? The lords are all come back, and brought Prince Henry in their company, at whose request the king hath pardoned them, and they are all about his majesty.
Withhold thine indignation, might heaven, and tempt us not to bear above our power. I'll tell thee, Hubert, half my power this night passing these flats are taken by the tide. These Lincoln washes have devoured them. Myself, well mounted, hardly have escaped away before. Conduct me to the king. I doubt he will be dead or ere I come.
It is too late. The life of all his blood is touched corruptibly, and his pure brain, which some suppose the soul's frail dwelling house, doth by the idle comments that it makes foretell the ending of his mortality.
His Highness yet doth speak and holds belief that being brought into the open air, it would allay the burning quality of that fell poison which assaileth him.
Let him be brought into the orchard here. Doth he still rage?
He is more patient than when you left him. Even now he sung.
Vanity of sickness. Fierce extremes in their continuance will not feel themselves. Death, having preyed upon the outward parts, leave them invisible, and his siege is now against the wind, the which he pricks and wounds with many legions of strange fantasies, which in their throng and press that to the last hold confound themselves. 'Tis strange that death should sing. I am the cymit to this pale, faint swan who chaunts a doleful hymn to his own death, and from the organ pipe of frailty sings his soul and body to their lasting rest.
Be of good comfort, Prince, for you are born to set a form upon the indigest, which he hath left so shapeless and so rude.
I'm married now. My soul hath elbow room. I would not out at windows nor at doors, and there is so hot a summer in my bosom that all my bowels crumble up to dust. I'm scribbed form drawn with a pen upon a parchment, and against this fire do I shrink up.
How fares your majesty?
Poisoned, ill fare, dead, forsook, cast off, and none of you will bid the winter come to thrust his icy fingers in my maw, nor let my kingdom rivers take their course through my burned bosom, nor entreat the north to make his bleak winds kiss my parched lips and comfort me with cold. I do not ask much. I beg cold comfort, and you are so straight and so ingrateful, you deny me that.
Oh, that there were some virtue in my tears that might relieve you.
Salt him that is hot. Within me is a hell, and there the poison is, as a friend confined to tyrannize. Oh, unreprievable, condemned blood.
Oh, I am scalded with my violent motion and spleen of speed to see you, Majesty.
Oh, cousin, thou art come to set mine eye. The tackle of my heart is cracked and burnt, and all the shrouds wherewith my life should sail are turned to one thread, one little hair. My heart hath one poor string to say it by, which holds but till thy news be uttered. And then all this thou seest is but a clod, a module of confounded royalty.
The dolphin is preparing hitherward, where heaven he knows how we shall answer him. For in a night the best part of my power, as I upon advantage did remove, were in the washes all unwarily devoured by the unexpected flood.
You breathe these dead news in as dead an ear, my liege, my lord. But now a king, now thus.
Even so I must run on, and even so stopped. What surety of the world, what hope, what stay, when this was now a king and now is clay?
Art thou gone so? I do but stay behind to do the office for thee of revenge. And then my soul shall wait on thee to heaven, as it on earth hath been thy servant still. Now, you stars that move in your right spheres, where be your powers? Show me now mended fates, and instantly return with me again, to push destruction and perpetual shame out of the weak door of our fainting land. Straight let us seek, or straight shall we be sought. The dolphin rages at our very heels.
It seems you know not then so much as we. The Cardinal Pandulph is with at rest, who half an hour since came from the dolphin, and brings from him such offers of our peace as we with honor and respect may take, with purpose presently to leave this war.
He will the rather to do it when he sees ourselves well sinewed to our defense.
Nay, 'tis in a manner done already. For many carriages he hath dispatched to the seaside, and put his cause and quarrel to the disposing of the cardinal, with whom yourself, myself, and other lords, if you think meet, this afternoon will post to consummate this business happily.
Let it be so. Let it be so, and you, my noble prince, with other princes that may best be sparred, shall write upon your father's funeral.
At Worcester must his body be interred, for so he willed it.
Thither shall it then, and happily may your sweet self put on the lineal state and glory of the land, to whom with all submission on my knee I do bequeath my faithful services and true subjection everlastingly.
And the like tender of our love we make to rest without a spot forevermore.
I have a kind soul that would give thanks, and knows not how to do it but with tears.
Oh, let us pay the time. But needful woe, since it hath been beforehand with our griefs. This England never did nor never shall lie at the proud foot of a conqueror, but when it first did help to wound itself. Now, these her princes are come home again, come the three corners of the world in arms, and we shall shock them. Naught shall make us rue, if England to itself do rest but true.
Yay! Good stuff. And thank you for watching King John Part 2. And great stuff, guys. Really, really good. Really good. So we can continue on. We can continue live if you want, and chat a little bit about the play, or we can go off live and stay for our Zoom audiences. What do you guys want to do? Anyone? Talk about it.
Let's go off live, but we can stay on the Zoom if anyone wants to chat.
Yeah, so thank you for if wherever you're watching on YouTube live, and thank you for supporting us. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with
Yeah.
commentaries.
Thank you.
Thank you.